What's up everybody? I just bought this really cool gimbal, been setting it up and want to make a video with it. So today we're going to do a property tour. But first, let's check this out to see what kind of things the gimbal can do. So a gimbal is really cool because when you're walking around, rather than it being super bumpy, please excuse if there's any mess in here, it slides with you so it's nice and smooth. Ooh. Boom, boom, boom. Check out those dishes. They look nice and dirty. Yup. Oh yeah. All right, well, enough with that. Turn it back around to me. Essentially, and I hope it's looking at me, but I'll find out in post. But essentially what we're gonna do is do a walkthrough of my property to show you what I would do if I were going to see a property and what things that I would want to look out for. And mainly that's going to consist of things like any sort of mechanical systems like electric, plumbing, any of the furnaces, those kind of major things, as well as things that you kind of want to look out for when you're walking around a property. And a majority of it is going to be outside or in the basement. So let's go ahead, take a look. So here we are in my nice comfy backyard, sitting on the patio furniture, and the first thing that we're gonna wanna look at when we go outside would be any of the roof shingles. Check out how they're doing. I don't have a great vantage point with the camera, but essentially what you're gonna wanna look at, I'll throw some photos in, if there are any shingles popping, and you wanna make sure that there's a ridge vent, because what that'll do is when the air comes up through outside, it'll recycle all of that air and get any moisture out of the attic area where that roof is. Those are two big important things. And again, everything that I'm going to talk about today, they're just things that you want to look out for. If they don't exist, then you can fix them. So the next thing that we're going to look out for after we've looked at the roof would be any gutters. So we want to have gutters at all points of the home. See up here that it's in the corner where all of the water is going to come to these downspouts. So you want to have downspouts to collect any water and push them away from the house. You can see this one, it's going away from the house. So we'll turn around, make sure that it's on the other corners of the home. You can see over here, again, we got gutters all the way, and they're sloped towards these downspouts to make sure that any water that's coming off the roof is staying away from the house. Water is your #1 enemy when it comes to properties. Everything that's possible that you can do, make sure water's away. You want to have the whole house with everything around the foundation, everything sloped away so that no water gets inside your basement and into your house and destroys any of the wood. So the first step of that would be having gutters that collect all of the water, downspouts that take that water and away from your house. The second would be the grade of your home. Make sure that everything isn't sloped towards the home, but sloped away. Next, we'll take a look at the siding, and it might be difficult to get a good view here. You just want to make sure that it's not bowed out and that it's going straight along. If it's going to be bowed out, then you're going to know that whoever installed it did the nails too tight, and siding is not cheap. And siding is a water diverter similar to your gutter and grading system, so you want to make sure that that is all done properly. From there we can talk about the electrical, again, mainly about the systems. I'm not talking about any cosmetics here. So this electrical I actually did new when I moved in, and it looks nice. And the important thing here that you're going to note is this thing right here called duct seal. And if this is cracked and not looking good, then you know it's time to replace it. And you're going to have this huge main wire, and that main wire has to be connected at the corner of the home. So you can see right here, that's where it's connected. Before, it was all the way back here to the main source of power coming from the city. It should be as close to the corner of the home as possible. If you want to know what it shouldn't look like, here you go. See that duct seal? Pretty much gone. You want it to look just like this. So now we're heading down into the basement, and this is where you're gonna spend most of your time. Because I have this dope gimbal, all these steps that I take are gonna seem real nice and smooth. And one thing that I will say before we take a look at everything, see if I can spin her around, is not all homes are built the same in North America. Most homes have a basement like this where you can stand in it, or a crawl space where everything's the same, except you have to crawl around, you're not going to be standing in it. Then the third type of home construction is just a flat concrete slab, so there's nothing underneath it, and all of the mechanicals will be at the same level as your living space. So if you have that type of home, a concrete slab home, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to do work like get to the electrical, get to any sort of plumbing lines, or do anything that you want to do if you want to do any type of improvements to your home. So with a basement, it's the easiest because you can stand in here. Crawl space you can still get in, but it's definitely a lot harder. All right, so let's check out all the mechanicals. And this is one of the darker basements that I've been in the Boston area, but it's not a bad one. So because this is a 3-family home, we want to make sure that there's 1, 2, 3 gas meters. Again, if there's not, it's not a big deal, but then you're going to be paying utilities for everybody. Same thing with these hot water tanks here. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3. And typically all of these will have ages on them or stickers that'll let you know how old it is or the last time that they were serviced. Typically these newer hot water tanks have this type of system right over here with this nice blue flashing light to indicate that everything is going smoothly. One of these I have is older, and you can see it right here. There's no blue flashing light. I just have to know it's hot by if the water turns hot or not. So it's important that you have the right amount of systems for the right amount of units or house type that you're buying. So if you go to a place that is a 3-unit building and it only has 1 system, you know that you're going to be paying everybody's heat, everybody's water, everybody's electrical, which can add up a lot and totally change the numbers when you're purchasing a home. So make sure you pay attention to that. And the other thing to pay attention to is if there's any common space. So right now I'm standing in common space. So example, electric, there's lights turned on. I need to have 4 panels for a 3-family home because someone's got to be paying for this common space, and it's not on the tenants, it's on you. So with that being said, you can see I have 1, 2, 3 panels here, as well as a 4th panel. Important thing you want to see here is how many amps are in the electrical. And actually the amount that I have is on the outside, and these are each 100 amp units. So with a typical new construction build, you're going to have 200 amps. With this type of build, actually these were all 60 amp units before I moved in, and I got them upgraded to 100 each. If they're 60 amp units, someone turns the hairdryer on, the fridge is running, and they're using the internet. Pretty much after a few minutes of that hairdryer, everything's going to trip. So if you want less tenant calls, I would suggest upgrading this for me to do all of the panels as well as fix the outside and do a brand new main line. It was $5,000 bucks. So electrical isn't crazy expensive. If you have one of these panels and you're upgrading it, it's going to run around $800 to $1,200 per panel. So the last thing would be the heating systems, and the same thing throughout here. You want to make sure that there's 1 for each unit. And like I have 1 here, a 2nd one here, as well as the 3rd one back over here. And typically these will have some sort of service sticker, or when they were approved, when they were put in, to let you know the age. So can we get it right here? So July 30th, 2009 was when these were put in, and that's the same across all 3. So that's pretty good. These units last around 20 to 30 years, especially if you get a plumber or someone like an HVAC tech to service them each year. That'll increase the lifespan of them. Pretty similarly to if you were servicing your car every year, it's going to last longer if you get someone to fix those routine things. If you get someone to check out your maintenance issues for your heating systems every year, it's going to make them last a lot longer. So the other thing that was interesting in this home, if you see right here, I've got these wooden tree trunks that used to be the supports on the main support beam. So the main support beam is running all along here throughout the whole house. And instead I had to put in these steel lally columns because those tree trunks will shrink over time. These don't. So you're gonna need to make sure that if you have something like this, change it out to that. And that was about $500 per lally column. And then the other major important thing in the basement that you're gonna check would be the plumbing. So these are cast iron pipes for the most part, which are fine. These lines are a little bit newer. And this is what will feed to the city all of your waste. If you have PVC pipes, that's a lot better. Those do not break. Cast iron pipes can break at any point. They can last 100 years, but it's possible for them to break. And you need to make sure that you don't only just have a waste pipe going to the city sewer, but you also need a vent. So here I have 2 bathrooms above this, one for one unit, one for the other, and it vents all the way up to the roof. And then if we head over to the other part of the basement, there's another system that has a whole other vent. Boom. You guys want to see where the magic happens? Here's all my tools. Here's how I save money. But I have this system over here. This is my bathroom above us. And you know what goes down these pipes. But essentially all of the sewer gases need somewhere to escape, so they got to escape up. When you're going back to look at that roof, make sure that you see those vents at the very top, depending on the number of bathrooms. If there's 2 bathrooms on top of each other, 1 vent, they can be tied into the same system. But if they're in different places, you need to make sure that there's a vent for each side where there is a bathroom, so that you know that plumbing is tied into the venting. And the last thing that's important to note is where all of the structural things are in terms of how the house is being held up. So this house is sort of interesting. It has a ton of foundational walls. You can see I have one right here, obviously all along the outside, but I also have this middle wall here. So you don't need as many of those lally columns. If you just had one big rectangular room, you would need those lally columns. These guys right here, every 6 feet, to make sure that the house doesn't sink over time. And the last thing that's important to look at when you're in the basement, something I missed that ended up costing me a whole gut rehab for a bathroom, is any water damage. Go underneath all of the plumbing, all of the pipes, anywhere where there's water, and make sure that it's not leaking water. Like I said, water was the most important when you're outside, diverting it away from the home. But obviously you need some water in the home so that you can shower, cook, everything that you do in a house. But you need to make sure that that water is all buttoned up, that all of the waste pipes aren't leaking, and any of the supply lines are also not leaking. So some things that you can do to check that is obviously see if there's water on the ground, but it's possible that someone fixed it a little bit and there's some leftover water damage. So let's take a look at how that might look and how it looks in my house. So let's take a look. You can see up here all of these white lines and everything. That is water damage because these main pipes right here, these waste lines, were leaking a ton of water. It was basically filling the entire ground with water, and it was definitely a little bit stressful for the time being. You can see something like that left over there. I actually don't know what that is. Maybe I should check that out. But this used to be huge puddle of water. So that's something you want to look for. Make sure that you look up underneath all of the pipes. And these are the supply lines, these copper lines. They're sometimes now red and white, which is called PEX, which is newer, which is nice if you can get that. But make sure you check under here. If there's any water issues, you're gonna wanna get on that or know what they are right away. So this isn't meant to be a property inspection and what you wanna get out of it if you have the inspector. But before the inspector comes and you're just wondering, should I offer on this house? It's important to check out these kind of things, see what actually needs work done, and figure out how much it might cost, which will let you know how much you're gonna put into the deal, more than just the down payment and the closing costs. It's important to understand what you actually have to get fixed, because a lot of these things that I'm talking about are not fun to fix, but you need to fix them in order to have the home have some type of longevity. You know, we all talk about the bathrooms being super pretty or the kitchen or whatever, and that's cool and that's what gets people in or people interested, but this is the kind of stuff that you want to get control of and get hold of right away. So make sure when you're walking through properties, you're not just paying attention to the nice new subway tile kitchen, you're paying attention to all the mechanicals, making sure that all the water's away from the house and any of the water that's coming into the house is buttoned up and there are no leaks. And all right, now we're back in the house, and there's gonna be a couple things that you're gonna wanna watch out for and things that you're gonna wanna make sure that you actually pay attention to. So if you check out my apartment and where I live right now, boom, I love that spin. You can see, looks beautiful. Really nice kitchen, brand new stainless steel appliances. Damn baby, that thing can cook. Nice fridge, everything, but don't get swayed by the nice stuff. Actually, up in this corner where I was talking about in the basement that had that issue, there was a ton of water damage. You can kind of see it a little bit along here. I painted a little bit over it with some mold killing primer. But that was an issue that I didn't see and the inspector didn't notice. So you need to make sure that you take a lot of attention, pay a lot of attention to that stuff, because water is the killer. It's the main thing you need to check out for. Are the systems working? Is the electrical good? Is there any water? Just check the water. Always look up. If there's a bathroom above me, I want to make sure I look up, check the ceiling. Is there any water? need to know that. So this video was a little bit different than what I normally do. Hopefully it gave you guys a good understanding of what to look for when you go to a property, because there's a lot of stuff to think about and a lot of things that I learn every time I go to buy a house, every time I go through an inspection, and new things that I want to look out for. So make sure you look out for those big systems like the electrical, the heating, hot water tanks, all of the plumbing. Make sure that that stuff is good to go, and make sure on the outside that the roof and everything looks good to go. And again, if it doesn't look good to go, these are things that you can understand before you get in. It depends on what type of stuff you want to take on. If you're willing to take on a new roof, if you're willing to rip open the walls to redo all the plumbing, that's totally fine. You can fix everything, but at least know before you put an offer in what kind of things that you're looking like you need to fix. And it's better if you educate yourself before putting that offer in, so you know what kind of work you have up front. So I hope this video helped you guys out. Please comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends so more people know what to do when they're walking through their properties and looking for various real estate investments. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.